Hello friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with a story where OP had a long-standing agreement with their landlord to keep rent low in exchange for making improvements to their rental unit. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Property management tells me not to fix anything. Okay. Back in the 2008 housing crisis, I did some work on the side for a customer's computer system. We got to talking, and he had a cheap one-bedroom duplex for rent that was too good to be true. It was a detached garage converted to a one-bedroom little apartment, and it was as plain and basic as they come. The actual house was being rented out, and he was charging the full amount price for the area, which was high, so the little garage conversion was pure profit for the landlord. I signed a lease for a fixed price that was almost half of what the going rate was for one-bedroom apartments in the area. It was no frills, plain as can be, with the cheapest appliances and amenities possible, light fixtures from the early 80s, cheapest faucets and countertops money could buy. You get the visual. The elderly landlord and I had an arrangement. I could fix it up so long as I could keep the rent low, and he would allow me to pay for the remaining balance on upgrades if and when things broke. Years go by, and I'm still in this one-bedroom garage conversion and making progress on updating the features. Kitchen faucet's gone, new fancy sprayer head faucet with a bar-style glass cleaner installed, old toilet replaced with a water-saving tank and bidet installed, 80s lights are gone, LED smart home fixtures installed. Around 7 to 8 years go by, and my rent's still half the normal going rate for the area, and my landlord's happy with our arrangement. Sadly, he has a heart attack and surgery saves his life. He's no longer able to maintain his active lifestyle and hands the reins of being a landlord to a property management company. This company is as shady and money-hungry as they come. They get a percentage of the monthly rent for their role in taking over the landlord's duties. They immediately hate me and my rental agreement from the start. The month they take over, my rent goes up the maximum limit of 10% plus 5% the cost of living increase for 1 year. I'm not happy with this, as this is a significant bump in my costs. I suck it up, but as a silent protest, I stopped making upgrades to the house that first year. The 12 months later, exactly, I get notification that my rent will increase another 10% plus 5% cost of living increase. This is yet another blow to my finances, but I can't really complain as my rent's still well below the average cost for the area. Another 12 months and another 10% plus 5% cost of living, followed by another the following year. This whole time I'd been saving a good portion of my paychecks as a down payment for a house, but these rent hikes were hurting my ability to set aside money for this purpose. My landlord was not happy with the property management company he hired, but couldn't get out of his contract because they were doing maintenance and facility repairs like clockwork. COVID hits, and I'd been in this place for 12 years by this point. My rent was still under the average for the area, but not by much. Seeing as how this was now just a crappy one-bedroom apartment, I was looking for houses to buy to get me out of this rent gouging arrangement I was in. Right at the peak of the COVID scare in 2020, a pipe bursts in the kitchen and floods the floors, ruining the crappy cabinets, the carpets, and the furniture I had nearby. I had renter's insurance that covered most of the cost of what I had lost. Not the nicest furniture, but my couch was a total loss. My desk, entertainment center, and my speaker were severely damaged. In comes property management to assess the repairs and gut out the damaged wood and carpets. I offer to pay for the upgraded wood and countertops as well as request hardwood floors. Nope. They deny my requests. I offer to do the work myself as I'm fairly handy. Again, denied with an actual written letter stating I'm not to do any work or maintenance on the apartment. I contact my landlord, who has his hands tied because this was the arrangement we had. I'm at a loss of what to do because this property management company is not setting me up with a temporary place to live, doing all the work while I'm working from home to watch my possessions. This is a literal door-sized hole in my wall as they spend 2 weeks fixing all the damage. They throw out my upgraded faucet, which was undamaged and worked perfectly fine, the upgraded sink, the light fixtures, the tile work I'd done, the bathroom faucet, which wasn't even part of the floor damage. They then removed an outlet originally part of the apartment to save on costs. I was pissed at them and complained via letters, via phone calls, and talking to the maintenance supervisor. It took 2 full months to do all the repairs, and at the end, they sent me a notice that my rent was going up due to some loophole in the neglect the apartment was in and not reported. I was done with this bullcrap, and I pooled my resources, called in all the favors I could, and found the house I wanted. I gave 30-day notice to leave at the end of my lease, along with an invoice of all the repairs I'd made to the apartment over the 12 years I was there. I attached a copy of my original lease agreement, a copy of all photos I took of before and after repairs I made, a bill of the cost, and a request of a refund of the past 6 months of additional rent hike due to neglect, like they stated in the letter. I had a running tally of with all the receipts, work performed, and the cost of not being allowed to live in a motel during the work being performed to over $9,700. At the same time, I submitted all this to the courts, as I knew they would contest all of it. My landlord was on my side during the court hearing, giving testimony he in fact allowed me in the rental lease agreement that I could do my own repairs. I won within 4 hours and awarded $4,700. The judge removed all billable hours I included. Judge was harsh to the lawyer for the property management, saying his client must obey the law and put a tenant up for housing during construction. Nearly 4 years later, I finally got my lump sum, including penalties and late fees, which totaled up to $7,500. Sadly, my old landlord passed away and his properties passed to his son, who immediately fired the property management company sometime early last year. What stands out most is how the OP handled everything with methodical precision. The invoices, photos, and original lease agreement were like a homeowner's version of checkmate. And the ultimate justice? The landlord's son firing the property management company after inheriting the properties. Talk about karma doing its job. Did they learn a lesson? Probably not. It's awesome the landlord was on your side, though. All right, folks, buckle up for the next one, because if this was about standing up to the system, the next tale takes it up a notch. Let's roll. And our second story. Following orders. This happened 20 years ago, but my family still laughs about it. My dad owned a painting company. I worked for him in various ways in high school and college. I also got a few friends hired on for summer work, too. One morning, we were on an exterior job, and my dad came by to check on the progress and speak to the foreman. He saw a friend and me on the side of the house prepping to paint. He told us to tape up the gravel stones next to the foundation and walked away. I knew he meant for us just to cover the stones to protect them when we paint, but told my friend we were to wrap individual pieces of gravel in masking tape until my dad comes back. As my dad walks by, he sees us taping individual pieces and loses his mind. We had probably 25 or 30 little stones in tape. He's saying he wanted us to put a few strips of tape and paper over the gravel and is visibly frustrated by us, and we're laughing. He got so mad he left and called my mom, because I got a call from my mom a moment later and she was laughing hard and asking me what I did to make Dad so mad. I shared with her that we were taping individual stones and she really got a kick out of it. The foreman had worked for my dad for nearly 20 years at this point and had known me since I was a kid and knew that I did things to mess with Pops all the time. There was no fallout or blowback for my friend or me. I still remind my dad about this, and he almost gets upset, still saying, "I couldn't believe what you were doing." A classic case of lighthearted mischief done right, making a simple job into a work of comedy art. Putting tape on each piece of gravel? That's the kind of stupidity that makes everyone laugh or get angry, or both. This was even better because it was written like a sitcom. The dad was yelling and screaming with anger, the foreman was shaking his head, yes, and Mom was laughing at the whole thing from the bleachers. The balance is what makes this so beautiful. It's just funny enough without being dangerous. A little family humor that's still funny after 20 years? That's one heck of a lasting joke. And our last story. Neighbors threatened to call the police for parking in front of my house. I've been living in a subdivision for several years now, and unfortunately I've been embroiled in a long-standing parking feud with my neighbor. My husband and I own 2 vehicles, and our house has one of the worst parking situations in the neighborhood. We have a 1-car driveway, while others have 2-car driveways, and our neighbor has a 3-car driveway. However, we do have parking available along our fence line directly in front of our house, which we rely on. Our neighbor, however, owns 7 vehicles. They constantly park their cars along our fence line, often taking up all the available space. This leaves me with nowhere to park when I come home, especially after late night shifts when I return around 1 or 2 in the morning. I don't feel safe parking 2 blocks away and walking home alone at that hour. We've approached them multiple times over the years, politely asking if they could leave at least one spot open for us along our fence. We've explained that we're happy to share the space as long as we also have a place to park. Unfortunately, our requests have been met with hostility. One conversation went like this. Me: "Hey, we noticed that all the spots along our fence are occupied by your cars. Could you please at least leave one space open for us? We only have the one driveway spot, and it's tough when we can't park near our house." Neighbor: "I can park wherever I want. It's a public street, and there's nothing you can do about it." Me: "I understand it's a public area, but we're just asking for a bit of consideration. We don't have much parking, and you have a large driveway." Neighbor: "Not my problem." Their dismissive attitude has made the situation increasingly frustrating. They often park right behind our driveway or even block us in, making it difficult for my husband to leave for work early in the morning. Sometimes their vehicles protrude into our driveway, or they'll park in the middle of the street, forcing us to navigate around them carefully. One particularly frustrating night after a late shift, I arrived home to find all the spots along our fence occupied by their vehicles. Not wanting to block my husband in by parking behind him in our driveway, I parked behind their 3 cars, the only available spot. They saw me park there but didn't say anything at the time. An hour later, they started laying on their horn, waking up the entire neighborhood and setting off all the dogs barking. They sent me aggressive text messages demanding that I move my car immediately or they'd call the police and have it towed. They also threatened to report us for an expired tag, which wasn't accurate since we had a temporary digital tag. They even sent us a blurry Google Maps image of our house, claiming it proved they had the right to park along our fence line. It was clear they weren't interested in a reasonable conversation. Fed up with their behavior, my husband and I decided it was time to take formal action. We had accumulated plenty of evidence over the years: photos of them blocking our driveway, images of their cars parked in front of no parking signs, documentation of their vehicle taking up all the spots along our fence while their driveway remained empty. The ticket we received because they left an abandoned vehicle in front of our house, which we were blamed for because it was on our property. We reached out to the local authorities and presented all our evidence. According to city regulations, we actually own the 10 feet in front of our fence line, meaning they shouldn't be parking there without our permission. After reviewing our case, the local authorities agreed that our neighbors were violating several parking ordinances. They issued citations for blocking driveways and parking in no parking zones. They also informed our neighbors that repeatedly blocking our access could result in their vehicles being towed. Holy moly, what a story! These neighbors really thought they could bully OP into submission by abusing parking spaces that weren't even theirs? Like, seriously? 7 cars and a 3-car driveway, and they still had to monopolize the spots in front of someone else's house? My freaking goodness, the audacity is off the charts. I like that OP didn't just sit there fuming. The blurry Google Maps proof? Laughable. The horn-honking tantrum? Even funnier when it led to citations and legal warnings. Honestly, this story's a goldmine of karmic justice, and I'm here for every second of it. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.